As most of you guys know, I've had issues with my old tripod, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the best tripod that money can buy. So tripods are one of those things that I feel like we spend so much money on, and not so much because they're so expensive, but because we buy so many of them. We buy that first tripod, it's cheap, you get it at Walmart or whatever, and it lasts you a few months. And then you're like, well, I don't want to do that, so I'll spend like 150 bucks on a tripod, and then it lasts a few months, and then you buy a more expensive one, and it's just like a repeating pattern. And tripods are one of those things that if you buy, you have to buy nice or you're gonna buy twice. I've definitely bought my share of tripods. The previous tripod I had was the Feisol 3472. I spent like 600 bucks on that, and I just got unlucky, and I had lots and lots and lots of issues with it. And then when I finally had enough, I went out and I purchased this. This is the Really Right Stuff 34L, CTV-VTC 34L. I'll put the exact model number on here. I don't know why they name tripods the way they do. They're named like androids. But anyway, this is the 4-section Series 3 tripod from Really Right Stuff. It's carbon fiber. It's very, very sturdy. And one of the unique features of this is just how tall it will go. If I fully extend this, you can see how immensely tall this thing is. It is taller than you would ever need on flat ground. But what is handy about this is when you have really long legs like this, when you're on an uneven slope, like where, say I'm standing on a slope, I'm shooting this way, the far leg is going to be way downhill from me. And I can shorten these legs and be able to get my tripod at an operating height, even though I'm on a downward slope. Or let's say I'm shooting in a river where I have one leg down in the water, off the bank of the water. It is really, really handy to have these longer legs. I obviously don't shoot with my tripod well above my head like this very often, or ever, but it's really nice when you're on an uneven slope to have the longer legs. So, some of the features that I do really like about this tripod, let me take this apart and show you. So this tripod comes with no center column, which I really appreciate. It allows me to get my tripod nice and low, and I never use a center column anyways for landscape photography. It's nice for portraits, but I don't use a tripod for portraits. The tripod itself, it doesn't have tons of features that are like really gimmicky. It just works. It's like all the features are what you use, but built really, really well. It's Really Right Stuff. All metal stuff up here. The leg lever lock system, the way they work is you can either push it from the inside like that and these pop out, or you can grab it like this and pull that out. And then as it gets to the top location, it ratchets down. And that way it's always right there where you need it. You can just quickly pull it out, go like that, go to your next angle. As you can see, if I put it like this thing will get really low. I think it's like 3 inches off of the ground, which is a really nice feature when you're wanting to get low. Another feature that I really like is the fact that it has a standard thread size here for your tripod feet or spikes or anything that you want to put on your tripod after the fact. The Feisol ones were a strange thread size. I hated that, but now I'm able to use these cheap spikes from Desmond, a set of 3 for like 20 bucks as opposed to the Really Right Stuff ones that are like, I want to say they're 35 bucks each, which is a little bit ridiculous. Another feature that I really like is how easy these are to disassemble. If I was to clean my threads here, which I probably need to do, all you do is you unthread this, and then, whoops, and then there's just this little collar on the inside. There's one on either side. You take that off, and boom, you have it already taken apart. Really easy to disassemble and put back together, which is a good thing because I just dropped this. Line it up with the groove, and then boom, you're back together. So I've taken this tripod now to Iceland for 10 days, Oregon coast for another 10 days. I've shot with it around salt water. I've shot with it pretty much in every condition, extremely cold temperatures, and it's held up really, really well. The legs have stayed very consistent with the tension to open and close. One problem that people have had with this is that the legs will come loose after a little while. They'll come loose and they'll start to get floppy, and then you can tighten them up. The reason that that happens is that there's a little collar on the inside, and if that collar starts to catch because the lubrication is wore off, it'll loosen itself every time you open this. But all you have to do is take that collar out, re-lubricate it so it spins properly, and you're good to go. Really, that's the only problem that I've ever heard anybody have with this particular tripod, is that the legs will get floppy, which happens to every single tripod eventually. I have several friends that have owned this for years. They've used it and abused it, and they've not had any issues with it. And I definitely have not had any issues with it either. They do have accessories where you can get a leveling center column. You take this piece out, and then there's a center column piece where you can put a bowl type thing in here and you can level it, but I don't think I would use that terribly often. So when it comes to tripods and like really upper end tripods, it really comes down to Really Right Stuff and Gitzo. I've had a chance to use and test one of the Gitzo Mountaineer series. It was a slightly smaller tripod than this. When it came time for me to spend my money, I went with this just because I like the larger tubing. I like this whole, I guess you would call it, spider section here. I just like the way that the ratcheting locking systems work. I just feel like they're both really well made and they're both going to last a long time, but I just like the Really Right Stuff design better. It's fairly light considering how much tripod you're getting here. When you consider that you're getting a 6-foot tall tripod with no center column, it's of course it's going to be a little bit heavier, but it's not bad. The exact weight is right here. It is a little bit heavier than the Feisal, which was this weight right here, but this thing is way taller, it's way sturdier, and hopefully I'm not gonna run into the issues with it that I've had. I really love this. If you can afford it, get it. Because with tripods, if you don't buy a good one, you're gonna just keep buying them. And you're gonna be behind money by trying to save money. I really like the way that the leg ratcheting systems work. I feel like this is much improved upon any kind of enduro, which is more affordable, but not super affordable when you get into these bigger ones. I like it better than the Gitzo. The Gitzos do ratchet as well, but this piece here is just sturdier and made better. So really, really happy with this. I can strongly recommend it, and hopefully, you know, you're not wasting too much money on cheap tripods, because tripods really do make a difference. They affect how much fun you have when you're shooting. If you have a tripod that you're fighting and struggling with, it just makes for a really miserable experience. All right, hopefully this has been useful. I personally really like it. If you have the money, you're not going to regret purchasing it, but it is a very expensive tripod. But for that reason, I do think that this is the best tripod that money can buy for landscape photography. Even though it's bigger, I have had a chance to fly with it. I flew with it attached to my camera bag. I had no problem on domestic flights. I had no problem on international flights. I know several others that have flown with it as well. Because it's so tall, it is kind of longish when it's all folded up. Obviously, I take my spikes off. But if size is an issue, maybe you could get just the 3/4 and not the tall version, and that might serve you well as well. But really happy with this purchase. I think it was money well spent, and hopefully this will be the last tripod I buy for a while. All right, thank you guys. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.